Imagine this. Someone offers you a 50% chance to lose $1,000 or a 50% chance to win $1,000. Would you take the bet? Most people would avoid it, even though the potential gain is equal to the potential loss. Why do we act like this? Why does losing something feel far more painful than gaining something equally valuable? This is what psychologists call loss aversion. In today's video, we'll dive deep into why we fear loss far more than we crave gain, and how this shapes so many of our decisions, whether we realize it or not. What is loss aversion? Loss aversion is a concept from behavioral economics that explains why people feel the pain of loss twice as intensely as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. In simple terms, losing $1,000 feels worse than the joy of gaining $1,000. This natural tendency influences everything from financial choices to relationships. Research shows that when faced with potential loss, our brains react stronger than when we face a potential gain. It's why we make decisions that minimize loss, even at the cost of missing out on potential gains. The 50-50 bet. Let's go back to the example. Imagine you're offered a 50% chance to lose $1,000 or a 50% chance to win $1,000. Most people would pass on the offer even though the odds are equal. Why? Because losing $1,000 feels more painful than the potential joy of gaining it. This reaction is rooted in our evolutionary instincts. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors focused more on avoiding losses, like losing food or safety, than seeking out gains. That instinct still drives us today. The stock market dilemma. Here's another example. You've invested in stocks, and the market drops. You're losing money, and you feel your heart race, your mind spinning. But when the stock price rises, you don't experience the same euphoria. Even though your net gain could equal your net loss, the loss feels more personal. That's why people often hold on to losing investments too long, hoping they'll bounce back, and sell winning investments too early because they fear losing the gains they've made. Why do we fear loss more than gain? The answer is rooted in evolution. Humans were designed to focus on survival. In a world full of threats, avoiding loss was much more critical than seeking gain. If our ancestors lost vital resources like food, shelter, or safety, their survival was at risk. On the other hand, gains weren't as urgent. Survival was more about avoiding threats than seeking rewards. Even today, our brains are wired to focus on potential losses and react more strongly to them. This is why when faced with the choice of losing $1,000 or gaining $1,000, the fear of loss often outweighs the potential benefit. Relationships and loss. Loss aversion doesn't just apply to money, it affects relationships too. Imagine being in a relationship that isn't fulfilling, but staying because you're afraid of losing what you already have. Even though letting go could open the door to something better, the fear of loss often outweighs the potential for a happier future. The pain of loss feels worse than the uncertainty of what comes next. Many people stay in unhappy relationships because it's easier to cling to the familiar rather than face the unknown. This fear keeps them stuck in situations that no longer bring joy, even when moving on could lead to greater happiness. How loss aversion influences our decisions in several ways. 1. Risk aversion. People tend to avoid risks where they could lose something, even when the potential reward is significant. This is why many people avoid taking risks like starting businesses, investing in stocks, or making bold life decisions. They fear loss more than they desire gain. 2. Overvaluing what we have. We often overvalue what we already have and resist change. This is why people hold on to possessions, habits, or situations that aren't working for them. The pain of losing something familiar feels unbearable, even when letting go might lead to better opportunities. 3. Regret. Loss aversion also leads to regret. When we make a decision that results in a loss, the emotional pain of regret often lingers longer than the fleeting joy of a gain. This can cloud our judgment and cause us to hold on to past mistakes longer than we should. How to overcome loss aversion. While loss aversion is a natural instinct, recognizing it is the first step in overcoming it. Here's how you can manage it. 1. Reframe the loss. Instead of focusing on what you might lose, think of it as an opportunity to gain something better. For example, selling a losing stock could free up capital for better opportunities. 2. Focus on long-term gains. When the fear of loss creeps in, remind yourself of the bigger picture. Long-term gains often outweigh short-term losses. Keeping your focus on the future helps you avoid panic decisions based on temporary setbacks. Accept imperfection. Life is full of risks, and you can't avoid loss every time. Sometimes you have to take the leap, knowing that gains often follow losses. Perfection is an illusion. Growth comes from taking calculated risks. The fear of losing something is deeply embedded in us, and it influences every decision we make, from finances to relationships. But by understanding loss aversion, we can make more rational, long-term decisions and stop letting fear hold us back. Next time you're faced with a tough decision, whether it's financial, career-related, or personal, remember that it's okay to take risks. Sometimes the fear of loss is just in your head. Have you ever avoided a decision because of the fear of losing something? Like, share, and comment below with your experiences. And let's talk about how we can start making better decisions despite the fear of loss. Subscribe for more insights on how to think smarter and overcome your fears.